Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome. Yuumi is finally here, this little cat. I just want to squeeze her head, and yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later on. But yeah, Yuumi is here, the new support in Wild Rift, and I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know. Abilities, counters, the best way to build Yuumi, and everything else as well. So make sure you go down the description, find a timestamp that you want as well. If you want to watch the whole video, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Now, Yuumi, it works a bit differently to other champions. She's a very unique champion. She can attach to her allies, making her pretty much immune and untargetable unless she gets hit by the tower. And in team fights, this works really, really well. If you want to dash to the front line, use her AoE crowd control as well, and it's really, really nice. Now, moving on to the items first off. Now, the weird thing about PC League of Legends is that most of the time with Yuumi actually never builds boots. Now the problem with Wild Rift is that it forces you to build boots, so you're kind of missing out on the item really on Yuumi. As mentioned, because Yuumi attaches to allies, that means that when they recall, you recall with them as well. So most of the time you want to attach them. You don't want to be walking around by yourself, you want to be walking around with an ally. But going into items, Staff for Flowing Water is still a really, really good item for supports. One of the best support items right now. Ability power, max mana, ability haste, and healing or shielding an ally grants you both 20 ability haste and also a little bit of extra ability power. So this is really good if you have an AP champion down the duo lane, but I think overall as an item it's still really, really strong. You're going to be seeing loads of items here to do with healing and shielding because Yuumi does all of that, which is quite awesome. On sensor as well, being able to give you and your allies attack speed, which is all good, and also allowing the attacks to deal bonus magic damage. Again, more ability power, more ability haste, and also maximum health. Harmonic Echo as well, moving and casting abilities builds up harmony, and 100 harmony, your next healing or shielding ability cast can restore more health. So again, another really, really good item for supports. Theme's Unholy Grail as well. It's going to be I can't speak. Unholy Grail is quite late here, but so bear with me if I do mess up a few times. But yeah, again, another great support item. And then you can go for an item like Death Cap just to give you a lot more ability power. Now, the boots you can see is right in the final item. I'm not too sure how it's going to work with Wild Rift. I'll have to test it and see. But most of the time, you want to leave your boots until the final item. You don't actually want to build boots. Sometimes the boots upgrade could be a bit helpful, but getting the item power spikes and getting as much, health, ability power, and ability haste as soon as possible is probably more important. But when you do build boots, Lucidity boots is the best one to go, and also Redemption is also really good. Now for the runes, Aerie is just the best rune. Her poke with her first ability allows her to do more damage with Aerie, and also the shielding and the healing shit that she does is going to be more. Now for the first rune, I've gone for champion. Now most of the time with Yuumi, you're not really going to die, to be honest, unless you get heavy crowd control when you're out of an allied champion or anything like that. Most of the time, you're not going to die a lot, and being able to deal extra damage in the lane phase is quite nice. So champion can work really, really well. You got other runes as well that you can go. Brutal is not that bad as well for a little bit of early game ability power, or you can go for Gathering Storm. That is very, very slow, to be honest, but if you do scale into late game with Gathering Storm, it can be really, really useful. Now, the only real choice for Yuumi for the third rune is pretty much loyalty. Everything else doesn't really help you in any way. Adaptive Carapace, again, you don't really need health because you're not going to be jumping out as much. You don't really need the extra armor or magic resist because you're always going to be on allies. And it's pretty much the same for every other rune. Conditioning, you don't need armor and magic resist. Hunter Titan, you don't need health, etc, etc. So that's why loyalty is probably the best rune for Yuumi. You can maybe go for like Adaptive Carapace if you want to, because in the laning phase you will be outside of your allies more often than in the late game. So in the early game you might need a little bit just in case you do get caught out. But to be honest, the extra 50 health with Yuumi is not going to help that much because Yuumi already does have quite low health. And then you have Mana Flow Band as well for the extra mana, which is really nice. Again, there's not really any other runes that you can really go with Yuumi, because like I said, Yuumi's quite a unique champion. And speaking of uniqueness, the Summoner Spells is also a very unique thing with Yuumi. You don't need flash, you don't need that sort of escape summoner spell, because most of the time you'll be on top of your allies. This means you can take 2 combat summoner spells, exhaust, heal, also ignite works really, really well. You can go like exhaust, ignite if you really, really want to as well. This also works really, really well. But going heal is quite nice because you'll be able to your ADC will be able to take barrier as well. But that's pretty much everything I need to tell you with Yuumi about the build and everything as well, just the general concept of Yuumi. Now let's go on to the abilities. So for the abilities, first let's talk about the passive, which is Bop and Block. Yuumi's attacks against champions grant her a shield and restore mana. This effect has a 6-second cooldown. The shield follows Yuumi until broken and will protect Yuumi's attached ally while she has one. So pretty self-explanatory passive. This is kind of what you want to do in laning phase. You want to jump in and jump out, because in the early laning phase, Yuumi does struggle a lot with mana. So what you do most of the time is when you jump on an ally, you mainly want to jump off, use your auto attack to, as you can see, get the shield and everything. And when you jump on an ally, you can see that the ally gets the shield instead of you, because you become untargetable. So it's really, really nice to get this passive up and available, and the shield is really, really awesome as well. And as mentioned, you know, you can jump on your allies and then they can get the shield as well. So that will be really, really nice to be able to get. You got the first ability, which is a Prowling Projectile. It's a hold and drag ability, so it's a little bit different to other abilities. I think this is the first ever hold and drag ability in Wild Rift, which is quite cool. So it steers a missile, dealing magic damage to the first enemy hit. And if Yuumi is attached, the missile will be enhanced if travels for 1 second before impacting, dealing more magic damage instead, and slowing enemy champions by 20% for a second. So it's a little bit different to the way a PC League of Legends works. In PC League of Legends, when you're unattached, the Q always goes in one direction. But now when you're unattached, your Q can also be aimed as well. So you can aim it in any direction you want to. And this is the first time I'm using it. This is actually a very interesting ability because, well, especially in Wild Rift, I played a lot of Yuumi in PC League. But being able to like hold and drag ability just feels really, really weird in Wild Rift. And the missile actually goes quite fast as well. And obviously, if you attach on an ally, then you can also do the same thing. But remember, when you're attached onto an ally, this is kind of the range of the Q kind of depends on where your ally is placed. So if your ally is, say here, for example, if he flashes backwards whilst using your Q, that means your Q will pretty much stop because it will get out of range. And when you flash forward, it'll be the same thing as well. It will extend the range towards the target dummy. Target dummies or the champions. But as you can see, I can use the ability, I can aim it, and then I can hit the target dummies. I can do this in pretty much whatever way I can. Like I said, you can aim it and you can still move around at the same time, as you can see. You can use this when trying to escape as well. If you're trying to escape, you can use your Q and move around, but again, just be careful of the range. And speaking of the second ability, You and Me. Now, a quick thing to note with You and Me is you get this at level 1 for free. So you basically get a free point in your W. This means you can put more points into your Q, but I'll talk about that a little bit later on with the skill order. You and Me, the passive, increases attached allies' adaptive force damage, which means like AD or AP, depending on what the champion is. Yuumi also gains the same amount of adaptive force as well. And it active, so it dashes to an allied champion and attaches to them. While Yuumi is attached, she follows her partner's movement and is untargetable except for towers. So if you use your Q and if you go under tower and if you attack an ally before the attack an enemy, sorry, before the ally attacks, then you will take tower damage. So you do need to be careful when going under tower. Now, mobilizing effects on Yuumi's place You and Me on a 5-second cooldown. I can't really show you this here. Hopefully I'll get more gameplay and I'll be able to show you actual gameplay. But it's kind of what makes Yuumi's counters in a way. So like Yuumi's counters is anything with hard engage. Thresh, Blitzcrank, Leona, Alistar, anything with any sort of hard engage that can jump onto Yuumi when she's unattached will be able to reduce or increase the cooldown, of the second ability. So, say for example, if a Blitzcrank hook lands, even if the ally is close, you won't be able to use your second ability because the cooldown will be on for a few more seconds. So you do need to be careful of that when playing Yuumi. I wouldn't really recommend playing Yuumi against the likes of Thresh, Blitzcrank, Alistar, and Leona. Yeah, as you can see, you can just attach to multiple allies as well. The good thing about this ability, if I do summon another allied champion as well, I do summon a few allied champions. If I remove the 0 cooldown, you can see that I can jump to as many different allies as I want to. As you can see, I can jump to as many as I want, unlimited amount of times. This is really good when jumping around. But obviously, when you unattach, you can reattach, unattach, reattach. As you can see, I have 0 cooldowns on as well, so I can do this as many times as I want to. And most of the time, you'll be all good. So that's a really, really cool thing about Yuumi and what makes Yuumi really, really unique as well at the same time, which again is what makes it really, really cool. And as you can see, the extra AD and bonus AD and AP goes up as you level up the ability. Now, the third ability, Zoomies, this is what makes Yuumi pretty much a support. Yuumi restores health to herself and gains movement speed and attack speed for a few seconds. If Yuumi is attached, this ability affects her ally instead. To be able to get 45% attack speed, obviously, I think the attack speed gets increased per level, yeah. The attack speed gets increased per level, but if you're playing a support, if you're playing a supportive role, this is normally the ability you max first. So getting that attack speed, 45% attack speed for 3 seconds. Imagine that on a Kai'Sa, on a Lucian, on a Xayah as well. You know, these champions that have a lot of attack speed. It's going to be really, really awesome to see. So as you can see, you can activate the ability and you can give yourself movement speed if you want to. Let me just turn off 0-second cooldown. As you can see, I can use this on myself. I can also attach to an ally, and also, I can also use this as many times as I want on an ally as well. So again, really, really cool to see. And for the ultimate final chapter, this is kind of Yuumi's main crowd control and AoE ability. Channels for a few seconds, launches 7 waves dealing magic damage. Waves after the first deal 50% less less damage, sorry. So 50% of magic damage instead. And champions hit by 3 waves are rooted for just over 1 second. Yuumi can move and cast Yuumi and Zoomies while challenging, as you can see there. When I activate my ultimate, as you can see, the range is not that big and it's not that much, but when you're on a frontline champion, which is what Yuumi loves, that is when she becomes really, really strong. So as you can see, I can do this as many times as I want. It channels 7 times, but once you get free, then the champion will be rooted. As mentioned, when you're using the ability, you can move around, you can attach, you can use your third ability as well, you can jump around if you really want to as well, you can jump out, you can jump back in. As you can see, you can do loads of different abilities with the ultimate, and again, most of the time, you want to jump on your frontline champions, give them the movement speed with Zoomies, the third ability, and then use your ultimate, which will be just really, really important during team fights. I think this will make Yuumi really, really strong. Now, speaking of champions that Yuumi is ideal with, you know, most AD carries will be really, really good with Yuumi. A few to name just off the top of my head. Jhin is really, really good with Yuumi. You get more movement speed with Jhin anyway, but Yuumi gives you even more movement speed from the third ability, and also the Yuumi's first ability works well with Jin's second ability. If Yuumi lands a poke with the first ability, Jhin can then follow that up with the second ability. And this is a really, really strong combo, and why I feel like maybe they've been a little bit harsh on Jhin with the buff because Yuumi has been coming out. So we're going to have to test Yuumi and Jhin as a combo. Kai'Sa obviously works really, really well with Yuumi. Kai'Sa's early game can be really, really good. Also, Kai'Sa can be a champion that could be really, really you know, kind of bad to play against as well for Yuumi, because obviously all the burst damage and all the isolation damage as well that Kai'Sa can do. And obviously Yuumi is untargetable, so when Kai'Sa uses like her first ability on the ally champion, because Yuumi is inside her basically, or inside the ally champion, then the isolation damage will just go on that champion. Lucian, again, really, really mobile champion, really, really good early game. Just allows Yuumi to be able to attach onto Lucian and just give him the extra damage in the early game. And again, you can use mobility around and be really, really awesome. And then the great thing about Yuumi as well, and the you and me thing with attaching onto allies, is that this works with invisibility champions. So if you attach onto a Rengar using ultimate, if you attach onto an Evelynn, then you will become invisible as well. Make sure you keep this in mind, because when you're roaming around with Evelynn, or if Yuumi's on the other team and there's an Evelynn as well, you need to be careful, because if a Rengar jumps on top of you, boom, Yuumi will be there as well if Yuumi's attached onto Rengar. So Yuumi becomes invisible when other allies are invisible as well. And again, that's just a few champions that I just wanted to mention. As for the skill order, as mentioned, You and Me automatically unlocks at level 1. You can see I'm level 1 and You and Me is already active. So you don't really need to do that much. You know, you can attach onto an ally and then they can walk to lane, and you don't really need to do that much. But like I said, I wouldn't really recommend staying on an ally champion for that long in the early game. So at level 1, you want to go for your first ability to get the early little bit of poke damage. And then you want to go for obviously your third ability, making sure you kind of get as many points in your third ability as possible. Now, the third ability is the main ability you want to max. This will give you the extra attack speed and everything as well. You can see you can put 2 points into your third ability, and then you have to put a point in your first ability. So you're going to have 2 points in each. Then you go for your ultimate, and then you want to max your third ability. Again, it gives you more attack speed, more healing as well, and you can be that support. Then you want to go for your first ability afterwards, making sure you put a point into ultimate as much as possible. And as you can see, you can actually put 5 points into your ultimate. The reason for this is that your third ability, you can only put 4 points in, sorry, because you get it free pretty much at level 1. So you got 4 points in your third ability, 4 points in your second ability, but your first ability has 5 points because you'll be able to unlock it at level 1, and then you already have a point in your W. So again, makes Yuumi even stronger. Her poke's going to be really, really strong as well. And I really feel like she's going to be a really, really strong champion. You can maybe even try like full AP Yuumi if you really want to as well. Yeah, thank you for tuning into this guide. Hopefully it helps you all out. Again, I'm going to try and get some Yuumi gameplay for you all to kind of show you how to play Yuumi. You're in lane interface, you're in team fights as well. So hopefully you stay tuned for that. As always, I'll see you all very soon. Take care. Peace.